I was posting, I posted earlier, kind of a goofy 15-second video about people just keep your damn dogs. And it was a couple of comments specifically surrounding uh, landlords, making people get rid of their dogs or homeowner insurance issues. So, obviously, I don't want to be too critical without providing information because it's easy to be critical or judgmental and no solutions offered. So that's really not what I'm about. I'll be critical of anyone. I'm most critical of myself before anything else. But I did want to provide this information because some people, especially people who rent or maybe they have homeowner insurance issues, they feel like there is no other choice but to get rid of their dogs or pets or whatever, but in this case, dogs. So I wanted to make sure that I present information that can help people without being, too critical and judgmental because, again, some people just feel overwhelmed by situations where landlords, tell them to get rid of their animals or homeowners insurance find out they have a restricted breed or whatever. So that's why I wanted to hop on this live. Again, it wasn't scheduled. So welcome everyone. I'm supposed to say hello to people. Um, Welcome Kelly. Welcome K Baby. Welcome Pat. Welcome Future Wife. Welcome Stonewall. Welcome Joseph. So you guys could ask me anything dog related. Obviously, I just want to start off the live by talking about homeowners insurance issues as it relates to breed restrictions and landlords uh, I guess, fearing or scaring tenants into getting rid of their dogs. Welcome, Alize. Welcome, ABHG, whatever. So I want to start off with insurance because that's a biggie where people they have homeowners insurance or maybe their landlord has homeowners insurance that has breed restrictions on it. And when we talk about breed restrictions, this is separate from BSL. I've talked about BSL, breed specific legislation, in other videos of mine. Uh, Breed restrictions from a homeowner standpoint, insurance companies can have breed restrictions. There's nothing preventing them from that. And it is different from BSL. So, where a lot of municipalities in, across the United States, breed specific legislation is actually against the law, but insurance companies can still impose breed restrictions. Welcome, everyone. So, yeah, so when we look at insurance companies, more and more insurance companies are eliminating their breed restrictions, especially in today's climate where it's more competitive from an insurance standpoint. And I'm not going to get into what companies don't do it because I'm not all that familiar with it. I know that I had a company or I got a quote many, many years ago, like, I don't know, what is it, 2025, 20, probably 20 something years ago, maybe. Got a couple of quotes, but I have pit bulls. So it was one of the first questions I asked. So when you're shopping for insurance, homeowners insurance, you have to ask them if they have breed restrictions. And, you don't have to call when you're trying to get a quote, call before you try to get a quote or go on the website and see if they have breed restrictions. And the great thing about it is the ones that don't have breed restrictions, oftentimes it'll save you some money. And I just pulled up, I'm using ChatGPT right now just to provide some context here. Uh, these are breed-friendly insurance companies. These insurers generally do not blacklist specific breeds. State Farm, Nationwide, Chubb, AIG, USAA, Progressive, Lemonade. So I don't know if this is 100%. I know State Farm is breed friendly. I'm pretty sure Nationwide is. I also know that Farm Bureau is a breed friendly insurance company. So, and I know some people that have changed insurance companies because of a specific breed, whether they had a pit bull, a Rottweiler, Doberman, a Shepherd, a Husky, a Chow Chow, a Cane Corso, a Presa, a Dogo, you name it. They had dogs that potentially wound up on these breed restriction lists. I mean, boxers are on some restricted lists. And they actually switched to a breed-friendly company and saved money. And there were other people that they had to switch, and it cost them a few extra bucks. But I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, they're our family, our pets. So there are options if people are feeling like they have to get rid of a dog because of an insurance issue. Now, if you have a dog that has a bite history, then that's a whole different set of circumstances. I'm not talking about that. And this holds true for landlord tenants too. And I'm not talking about multi-housing units because that's probably a whole different set of circumstances and variables that, you can't have, 85 other tenants, have to join in your fight, right? But if you're renting from a landlord, you live in like, a two-family house or something like that, and the landlord is suggesting that you have to either get evicted or get rid of your dog because of insurance issues, and hopefully you have a good working relationship and you could talk through it and present alternatives so you don't have to get rid of your dog, right? And again, a lot of times landlords save money by switching insurance companies. So, and again, these are just a few things here. And it's, again, restrict homeowners insurance companies that restrict certain breeds. That's different from BSL. BSL is legislation. That's governmental, right? Individual businesses or organizations, whether it's insurance companies or HOAs, they can impose breed restrictions, regardless of breed specific legislation. But just do some due diligence, make a couple of phone calls and ask insurance companies, go to their websites, make sure there are no breed restrictions, and that solves your insurance issue. I think some people just feel overwhelmed when they're presented with information from insurance companies that, oh, we're not going to be able to insure your home anymore. Like, that's a scary thought. I get it. I understand that. I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be saying hello to everyone. I apologize. If anyone wants to chime in with any questions, I'm talking about homeowner insurance issues and people feeling like they're getting forced to get rid of their pets from their landlords. So that's what I want to hop on this live about. But this is my ask me anything segment. So if you have questions, please feel free to ask away and click those likes and share or whatever the case may be. Welcome everyone. I'm sorry if I missed you. Jilly, Marilyn, Betty, Patricia D, Verito, sorry, Savannah, Tucker, Debbie. Welcome everyone. At any rate, people just probably feel overwhelmed and, maybe even scared that they're going to lose their homeowners insurance when it just takes a phone call or a visit to a website to find companies. And, again, do some internet search, go to insurance company websites and make sure they have no breed restrictions, and then call them for the quote and, swap it over. Like I said, sometimes people save money, hundreds of dollars a year. Sometimes you might have to, fork over a couple extra bucks, but it's better than the alternative, which is, getting rid of your beloved family pet, or, losing homeowners insurance, obviously. So yeah, these are just some of the lists. Obviously, pitties, staffies, rotties, shepherds, dobies, huskies, akitas, chow chows, wolf hybrids, many different mastiffs. Like I mentioned earlier, boxers are on some breed restricted lists. There are so many breeds that wind up on breed restriction lists that you really got to do your due diligence, especially if you're considering taking in a dog and you don't have the dog yet, right? If you don't have the dog yet and you bring a dog in, and it just happens to be on a breed restricted list, that's on you, right? So do your due diligence beforehand if you can. If it happens once you have your family pet, and an insurance company can change their policy, and you'll have to, make adjustments on the fly. But those are some breeds that pop onto those lists. So, and remember, when it comes to like pitties, right? Sometimes it's just the way they look because people are stupid and they wouldn't know what a pit bull was. I'm not going to finish the rest of that sentence because that's counterproductive. But most people don't know what an American Pit Bull Terrier is. Pit Bull advocates don't even know what an American Pit Bull Terrier is, let alone legislators or insurance company executives. So just do some due diligence. There is a list on here. I don't know how accurate this one is of companies that commonly enforce breed restrictions. Allstate, Farmers, Liberty Mutual, AAA, American Family. I don't know that this could be an outdated list, but just check your companies. Tips when applying: be honest about your dog's breed and behavior history. So I disagree with that. I think you should get a quote first, like as John Doe, or do your due diligence before you're applying and trying to get a quote, right? Because you don't want to apply at a company that has a breed restriction. You can do your due diligence before you even get to that point. Ask if the policy is underwritten by a third party. That's a really good one because some breed bans come from third party underwriters that don't necessarily fall within the policies of an insurance company. Make sure I got everybody here. But yeah, so yeah, it's good information. So, but yeah, I mean, and then, you could share this video afterwards if there's people that are going through some homeowner insurance issues. And again, we're not talking about dog bite issues because that's a whole different set of circumstances. If the dog, regardless of breed, has a bite history and a history of aggressive behavior or intense behavior, that someone might lose their policy because they got sued. We're not talking about that. We're just talking about the threat of homeowners by insurance companies that they're going to lose their home because of their dog. So. All right, so that's part one of this, and I just want to provide this information because I did that little 14-second video about just keep your damn dog kind of thing, and I meant it. I didn't not mean it. I meant it 100%, and I stand by it. That people dump their dogs way too quickly, and just keep your damn dog and help the rescue community out. And again, one of the comments on there was about landlord issues and homeowners insurance. So when we talk about landlord issues, it's a little more layered because I hate to use this word. The fault can fall on a few different people, right? So first and foremost, if you're I am so sorry. I'm terrible at this live. I'm supposed to be welcoming people. I apologize. Welcome Debbie, Little Mo, Tom, Chill Fam, Dream Lorraine, Cindy, Vargas, welcome. And like and share this video if you know anyone who might be going through some homeowners insurance issues or landlord-tenant issues with dogs. I'm supposed to ask you to like it too. I don't care. When it comes to landlords threatening tenants that they're going to get evicted or things like that, first and foremost, when I talk about this stuff, I'm talking about, dogs that have no behavior history. Like there's no incidents. It's just a good dog. There's no nuisance behavior. The landlord just said, "Oh, you have to get rid of the dog or I'm evicting you." Right. So part of this equation is, number one, if you're going to bring a dog into your home, obviously check your lease, check with your landlord to make sure that you can bring a new dog in. And then if you have a dog because you were either under the impression or factually that the landlord said you could have dogs, make sure there's no breed restriction clauses in your lease. And if there's no breed restriction clauses in your lease, your landlord's shit out of luck. You could fight it easily, right? And I'm not a lawyer. I'm just, this is just my experience. I've been involved in a lot of these issues over the, past decades or whatever. But, if there's no behavioral history and there's no prior incidents and you have a good dog and it's in your lease, fight it. Your landlord cannot change the lease in the middle of a lease. And this is obviously where I have to say, make sure you check with your lawyer and stuff like that. But, and now, if you have a lease that has a pet-friendly clause but a breed restriction and you decide to bring a dog in, and it happens to be a dog that's on the restricted clause of your lease agreement, then that's on you, right? It's also on wherever you got the dog from, right? And if it's a breeder, hope it's not, hopefully you adopted. If it's a breeder, that falls on the breeder, and unfortunately, there's just a lot of shitty breeders that don't care where their dogs go, so they're not going to do any due diligence. But if it's a reputable rescue or something like that, it's up to them to make sure that you're allowed to have pets in specific breeds if you're going to adopt, a Pitty, a Rowdy, a Dobie, etc. So there's responsibility all around when it comes to adopting dogs. Make sure I got everybody. Welcome Clarence, welcome Big Al, welcome Kenny. So when I think I may have mentioned this in another video. I've had to deny people adoption because they lived in an HOA where there was breed restrictions. And they didn't know there were breed restrictions, but I knew they lived in an HOA. And the first thing I did was I hopped on the HOA's website. I really couldn't find specificity, but it did mention that certain breeds were not allowed. So I actually called, and they actually gave me the link to the location of the information, and they provided the information to me. And I unfortunately had to deny them. And these were really good people. They would have made amazing pet parents, and they would have given the dog an amazing life. And I had to deny them because the risk of the dog being returned and being displaced again, the risk was there, so I just couldn't do it. And the displacement of a dog in a short period of time, that can have negative behavioral effects on a dog or emotional impact, right? We don't want dogs bounced around. So it's important that rescues do their due diligence too. And if it's a landlord-tenant issue, right, in the case of what we're talking about now, if it's a landlord-tenant issue, it's up to the rescue who's adopting the dog out to make sure that, number one, that obviously we're going to ask the potential adopter, are you allowed to have pets, and are there any breed restrictions? I mean, it's that simple. And most people are going to say, oh, nope, we're pet friendly and there's no breed restrictions. You don't stop there. If you're a rescue person, you call the landlord and you make sure you get a copy of the lease so you could see it in black and white. Are they allowed to have this particular dog? And it sucks. Sometimes you might have to deny a really good family for that's going to adopt a dog, but that's just the way you got to go about it. Now, again, going back to, if you're allowed to have pets and there's no breed restriction clause in the lease agreement, then that's on the landlord, right? So you fight it. That's it. You just fight it. And I get critical of people, and obviously I get a little emphatic at times, but I also understand the emotions that people might feel going through that, where the landlord says, hey, you got to get rid of your dog or I'm going to evict you. That's a scary thing to be presented with, right? So, but again, if the tenant knows what their lease says and they know they're in the right, they can easily fight it. It's that simple. So yeah, so that's welcome Eloy, welcome Adriana. So yeah, so I just want to throw that out there, and let me read this. This is okay. So check the lease carefully. Pet clause, restrictions, and this is a good one, which I did. I mean, obviously I said check the lease, but making sure your permission was in writing in the lease, because I know a lot of landlords that have said, oh yeah, you could have a dog, and people have even shown them a picture, and oh yeah, no problem, and the tenant just goes and adopts the dog or whatever, and however they procure the dog. And then all of a sudden, a few months later, the landlord changes their mind and the tenant is shit out of luck. Get it in writing. Always get it in writing. And remember, if you're in a lease, now if you're in a month-to-month lease, then yeah, I'm sure the landlord can change that any month they want. But if you're in like a standard 1 year lease or however long leases are, I'm not sure. I'm not in real estate, but I know most are like a year long. Make sure that you do your due diligence and that is in writing in the lease, and you make sure that it carries over. It's that simple, and you can even put a clause in your lease like, any changes to the lease or the structure of your pet policy, you require X amount of months notice to make necessary adjustments, and you can even add in there, you require an additional X number of months to find new residency while the issue is taken care of. So, okay, landlord can't change lease midway. Already talked about that. A landlord cannot force you to remove the dog unless the dog is violating the lease terms, aggressive, barking nonstop, damaging property, nuisance behavior too, or there's a new law or city ordinance requiring removal. That's rare, and again, I'm not a lawyer, but if it's a governmental thing, remember most municipalities. This is where people don't like the fact that dogs are considered personal property in most municipalities. I happen to like the fact that dogs are considered personal property because it affords us protection under property law, and search and seizure and all that crap. So again, I'm not a lawyer, but it's if you happen to have to hire a lawyer, that's one of the ways they're going to go about helping you. Um, okay, and then if the lease allows for termination of pet privileges for cause. Remember, for cause is the dog did something wrong, or you're a shitty owner, and the dog's shitting in the stairs or shitting all over the place, and the house stinks, right? That's a whole different set of circumstances. Um, okay, if you're threatened, respond in writing. Send a respectful written response. Your lease permits the dog. There's been no violation, and you intend to follow the lease and keep the dog, right? And the other thing too is if you get notice from your landlord and you know you're in the right, don't wait for the lease to end. You might want to start doing your due diligence and looking for your next place to go, if you, just in case you need that to fall back on. So. But again, this was kind of a quick live I hopped on. Feel free to ask me anything dog related, dog health, dog training, dog behavior, dog nutrition, anything about pit bulls, rescue, you name it. I just wanted to hop on here and talk about very important topics of home insurance issues with breed restrictions, and landlords threatening tenants with restriction or removal of the dog. So, document everything. Keeping copies of especially today's day and age, keep everything. And it's easy now. We don't need stacks of paper. We could just throw stuff up in the cloud on our Google Drive or whatever, Apple Share, whatever the hell it is. We can keep copies of everything. We can video stuff. If you're going to video conversations between you and your landlord, you have to check your state law for recording laws where you might be in a one person consent state where only one of the people in the conversation has to be aware it's being recorded. So let's say you and I are living in a one person consent state and I record the conversation. That's all that needs to happen because I know I'm recording it. If you live in a two person consent state, you have to, and you're recording, you have to get the approval of both parties in the conversation, or however many parties are in the conversation. So if you're going to record stuff, just be careful and just know what your state law is as it relates to party consent with video recording. Know your legal options. Contact tenant advocacy groups or legal aid in your area. In most U.S. states, landlords cannot remove pets mid-lease without cause or legal proceeding. So even if they're threatening you and there's no cause, it's up to them to go through all the legal rigmarole of going through that. So you may also have rights under fair housing laws if the dog is an emotional support animal or service dog. So I'm not going to get into emotional support dogs and service dogs because they're two completely different animals, literally. Emotional support dog is pretty loosey-goosey. A service animal, you have very strict protection under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Okay, if you're unsure about the lease language, you can obviously utilize tools, ChatGPT or Legal Answers, stuff like that, if you're unsure of your lease terminology or the language in it. Excuse me. Okay, so that was my spiel on those two topics. Again, ask me anything dog related, dog training, behavior, health, nutrition, holistic pet care, anything about pit bulls, social or otherwise. And I'm happy to answer your questions. Let me see if I missed anyone. Welcome TB, welcome Scarlett, welcome Dave, welcome Dee Dee, welcome Rick. I think I said hello to everybody. So, yeah, I mean, and the whole purpose of this was, obviously I'm a trainer, but I've also been in rescue since 2002, and like I don't know how else to say this. I'm sick of the lazy excuses of why people get rid of their pets. These two issues, I'm probably a little less critical because I understand the feelings and emotions that people must feel when they're presented with those threats or the choice of losing your home or you got to get rid of the dog. But like things like moving, I mean, come on, like moving irritates the hell out of me. Okay. I mean, you have a dog, you know you're probably going to move. You move somewhere where the dog is allowed. I mean, it's that simple, right? I mean, are there extenuating circumstances? If I want to try to be a little objective and not as critical, maybe people fall on hard times and they have to move in with family, and maybe that's an issue. It's a little bit different, I guess. I would find a way, regardless. But most of the time, people are just moving, and they don't feel like dealing with the dog and the move. That is most of the time. So that's why people like me get pissed off, because that is most of the time. The moving and the getting rid of pets, most of the time it's poor planning or lack of commitment. And that's the irritating part about it, right? Um, I mean, I've seen people getting rid of 6-month-old puppies because they had a lifestyle change. Like, what happened in a couple of months that all of a sudden you can't have a dog? Like, I mean, that blows my mind. I've seen it even worse, where they have a 10, 12-week old puppy and they got rid of their dog because of a lifestyle change. What changed in a week? Like, where is the accountability and responsibility from people nowadays? It baffles me. I gotta greet people. I'm sorry. Hi, Angie. Hi, Justin. Welcome. Hi, Red. Hi, Randall. Yeah, so anyway, ask me anything, guys. Dog training, dog health, dog nutrition, holistic pet care, pit bulls, rescue, you name it. No question is off limits. Feel free. But yeah, the obviously the rescue community is just severely overwhelmed and in crisis, worse than I've ever seen in my 22, 23 plus years. All my rescue friends and partners that have been around the block a couple of decades say the same thing. It's as bad as it's ever been. A lot of shelters. Look at what's happening in New York. The ACC is in dire crisis. The Manhattan shelter, but it's not just there. That just happens to be a big one, so it made the news. There are shelters all over the country, rural, suburban, municipal, that are just jam packed, nowhere to go. Rescues are overwhelmed. They have no foster homes, and the foster homes that they do have can either only have one dog, or they already loaded up with the multi dog household and they're doing the whole crate and rotate thing. So, that's why I do stupid videos like that, like keep your damn dog. Like, just keep your damn dog. And I'm not talking about catastrophic life circumstances, obviously death, severe illness, like, those are like reasons, and, even then, I know some people who have contingency plans, whether family or their backup to take care of their animals. God forbid they pass away, or, they're incapacitated for some reason. Most people that are getting rid of their dogs, there are solutions and alternatives to getting rid of their pets. They just don't pursue them for whatever reason. Divorce is a biggie, and I've never been through a divorce, so I can't imagine the stress and the emotional roller coaster that must be. But like, neither of you want the dog. That I can't understand. Like, I mean, neither of you like want to keep. What the hell did you get the dog for then? Like, I can't understand that. I mean, I have friends that gotten divorced, and the dogs are okay. They stayed with them. They split the household, or one person kept the animals and the other person didn't, or some left on amicable terms and they have like shared custody of their animals. Like, I don't, so yeah, I don't understand that one. You know, I think the one tough one is military. Like, that's a tough one. Like, I have a hard time being critical of that. Number one, I've never served. Number two, like, if you get deployed, I mean, I guess you could say, well, you might get deployed, so why get a dog? But again, I don't know the logistics behind the scenes of maybe someone was in the military, but they weren't going to be deployed, or they did all their deployments and they figured, let me get a dog, I'm going to settle down now, and then all of a sudden they get deployed again, or they get relocated to, a different area of the country or world or whatever. But I will say a lot of a lot of military bases where there's residents, they live on base or whatever. a lot of military bases do have breed restrictions, so that kind of ties into what we were talking about earlier. So that kind of stuff falls on the people who took the dog in and moved on to a base where they can't have a particular breed, right? So again, that's a little bit of a, I guess I got a little off topic there, but anyway, I want to say hello to everybody. Did I miss anybody? Hi, Sharon. Welcome. Um, yeah, so that was my spiel on homeowners insurance and landlord-tenant issues as it relates to dogs and just being accountable and keeping our dogs. I mean, yeah, they're like I said, that I try to be understanding and acknowledge that there could be catastrophic life events or serious circumstances where people have no choice. But you could ask, if you know anyone who's in rescue, you could ask them. The majority of reasons why people get rid of their dogs is bullshit. It's usually lazy people. They're not accountable. They lack responsibility, and they don't even want to take the smallest effort to see if there are alternatives other than getting rid of their dogs. You know, and I won't even get into the training aspect of it, where like people get rid of their dogs because they're not housebroken. Well, housebreak them, train them. What do you think? They're plug and play? Will you just adopt a dog and they're going to be perfect? That's not how it works. It takes effort. Make sure I missed anyone. I get these invites. I don't know if that means people want to join or I'm supposed to ask them if they want to join. Does anyone know that? I'm just not familiar enough with how the messages break down and stuff. So, like if I get a message on live and it says invite so and so to join the live as a guest, does that mean they requested it, or is just presenting me with an option to invite them? I'm not sure. And I'm saying that because if people are requesting to join, I apologize if I'm not adding you. I just don't know if you're requesting it or if just TikTok is popping that up on the feed. I'm just not sure. Um, at any rate, yeah. So keep your damn dogs. And if I want to be really helpful, is that if you feel overwhelmed and you're not sure what to do, just ask for help. I mean, there's so many resources at everyone's disposal now. And I mean, there's pet-friendly realtors, for Christ's sake. There's realtors that, like, one of the things they kind of brand themselves with is helping people find pet-friendly living, pet-friendly accommodation. You know, family matters. Sometimes you have a dysfunction in the family, and that might cause someone to feel like the dog might be at risk. So, like, that's another one. Like, if you got a human that might pose a risk to the dog, what are you getting rid of the dog for? You get rid of the human. Why are you getting rid of get rid of the root cause, the human? Have the human go live somewhere else. You know. Um, but yeah, so that's why I hopped on this live. I know it wasn't scheduled, but I just wanted to talk about again specifically the first two items. I got a little sidetracked on people getting rid of their dogs, but I'm gonna end in a few minutes unless anyone has any questions. Did I miss anyone? Welcome, Marcia. Yeah, so I mean, for people out there, if you're faced with a situation, whatever the situation is, and you know, if it's an issue where you might have to, you feel threatened or forced to get rid of your dog for whatever reason, reach out. I mean, like I said, there's so many resources at our disposal, whether it's rescue organizations that might be able to provide you with information and alternatives other than getting rid of your dog. There's training resources, whether it's TikTok or YouTube or whatever. You could get like free training tips if you can't afford a trainer. There's low cost group classes if you need training. If you have a dog and you want to get rid of the dog because it's not housebroken or it's destructive, crate train the damn dog. I mean, solved. A lot of people get rid of their dogs because they're not housebroken or they're destructive. Yeah, well, crate train them. I crate train all my dogs, and I'm a dog trainer. And I got pits. So like the first couple of years of their lives, they're very puppyish, and they can be a little destructive. But I crate train for a whole variety of reasons. I'll probably do a whole live on crate training anyway. But it's good to crate train dogs, and it is a solution to getting rid of your dog. Properly introducing a crate and crate training your dog is a solution to at least manage behavior. Like if you're out and the dog's home alone, you crate them. Simple, really simple. So, all right. So I'm going to ask one more time if anyone has any questions. Uh, Dog training, behavior, health, nutrition, holistic pet care, anything about pit bulls, anything rescue related. Any questions before I get going? I got a couple of dogs that got to go out soon. So let me just scroll through here. I don't think I missed anyone. If I did, I'm sorry, because usually with the lives, I kind of field questions and I have an idea that there's going to be a couple of people on asking questions. This was kind of a last minute, live event, if you will, for me to talk about. Again, uh, we started out talking about homeowners insurance and breed restrictions, and then we talked about landlords threatening tenants with eviction or getting rid of their animals. And then I kind of babbled a little bit about people getting rid of their dogs. So, but anyway, I'm going to shut up now. Thank you everyone for joining. I appreciate it. And after the fact, you can kind of look at this, check out this live, share it with other people, especially if you know anyone that has going through some homeowner insurance issues or landlord tenant issues with their dogs. Please share this video and let them know there are alternatives. There are solutions to what they're going through. They just might have to put a little legwork in. That's it. So, all right, guys, you all have a wonderful night, and I'll see you all soon.